So did anybody notice the topic of this week's Lama talk? Hannah was asking last week if we could talk a little bit about different Messianic Bible translations, why we read from David Stern's translation, the Complete Jewish Bible. And I thought that'll be a great topic for a Lama talk. And it may run into a couple sessions because I do want to keep it somewhat short. You know, I have a deep fascination with different translations. I love seeing the original language and then seeing how different translators communicate thoughts in our language. I have a thing for words in that regard. So I brought a couple different ones, and we'll do a little Bible show and tell this morning. And I'll talk about the pros and cons of a couple different translations that I've encountered. And I think it'll be fun. And I welcome your thoughts also. So here's my crate with some of my different translations here. I'll just bring a chair over to put them on. So here's what I would definitely regard as the best translation, the most accurate one. It's called The Message by Eugene Peterson. And I be joking. Of course, this is a paraphrase. I just wanted to do that for shock value. Because I have a passion for quality translation, I always thought The Message was kind of a joke. I looked at it once and I was like, this is nothing close. But I came to realize this was intended to be a paraphrase, not a translation. And I actually shocked Genevieve like about half a year ago, or maybe it was last winter. Maybe winter was just getting to me. But I said, Genevieve, I felt like getting a copy of The Message and reading through it, just for a really fresh look at stuff. So I got this, and I went through it, and it did give me a fresh look at some things. I reached a point where I realized I can't read this like it's a translation, because it totally isn't. I'm going to read it like a book, and just say, to the degree that this book is telling truth to me, I'm okay with that. So it was fun. But we're not going to be doing our congregational readings from The Message paraphrase. Don't worry about that. Of course, this here would be the ideal. This is a Tanakh, a Hebrew Bible, that actually belonged to my grandfather, who was a Baptist evangelist and pastor. And I had the honor of inheriting it when he passed away a couple of years ago. He has his notes in it and things like that, which is really cool. And this would be the ideal, if we could do all of our congregational readings from the original Hebrew text, just like our Messiah did, and like a lot of the early believers. But I don't think that's going to happen yet. But we do thankfully have great translations to work with. Hey Lisa, Shabbat Shalom, great to see you. Shoshana? We are having a little talk this morning for our Lama talk, just so you guys know, about different translations and why we read from the one that we do on Shabbat. So, just a little Bible show and tell. Also, with regards to the Brit Chadashah, the New Covenant Scriptures, it would be awesome if we could actually read the Greek. This is a Greek New Testament that was given to me as a baby gift by the professor at the Southern Baptist Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas, that I was actually originally named after. His name is Curtis Vaughn, and he gave this to me as a baby gift. I have to admit that I wasn't able to read it as a baby, and I'm still not able to. But I'd like to be able to. One reason I would love to learn to be able to read the Greek language is so I could read the Greek New Testament and also read the Septuagint, the translation of the Hebrew Bible into Greek, just to see those connections between the two, to see the coherence in the Scriptures. A cool little example is, it says in Matthew and Mark that the woman who grabbed hold of the hem of Yeshua's garment, the Greek there is kraspedon, and I was fascinated to learn that kraspedon is the same word for like a fringe, what we'd call in Hebrew a tzitzit, like the on the corners of the garments. So it's kind of interesting that that's what that lady grabbed hold of, and you only learn that when you begin delving into original texts and stuff. So anyway, that would be nice, hey, if we could just read from the original Hebrew and Greek, but we can't. So, what's our next option? Well, you kind of have these ideals, eh? You want to have a translation that is accurate, so you know it's saying what it says in the original text. You want one that you can understand. That's always a plus. I often enjoy translations that have the more original Hebrew pronunciation of words. because you're getting closer to the original, and because it sounds really nice. Because I've read the Hebrew Bible for years and years, the original pronunciation is closer to my heart too. So that's a plus. So there are a couple of different translations we could read in that regard. I often just read the New American Standard Version. I enjoy it because, it's famous for being a very literal translation, word-for-word accuracy. And as I go, I'll often just, where there's a English kind of case of a word, I will just render that into the original Hebrew. So, where I see Jesus, I'll often read Yeshua there, his Hebrew name, his original Hebrew name, which means salvation. Kind of be like, if you can imagine reading the New Testament, and every time it says Jesus, say salvation, you're getting a sense of how it sounds in the original Hebrew. The genealogy of salvation, the Messiah. The angel appears to Mary and says, and you shall call his name salvation, for it is he who will save his people from their sins. That's what we're getting at here with this. So that's a lot of fun. As for the actual complete Jewish Bible, I just realized I have it over here. I enjoy the complete Jewish Bible because it has that original Hebrew pronunciation of names, which is a bit of an adventure for some of us, isn't it, during our congregational readings. I like how it has the parsas, the weekly scripture portions, built right into it and listed. I enjoy how in the Brit Chadashah, the New Testament, it has a lot of the original Hebrew pronunciation of names also. For instance, you have Yeshua, Jesus' original name. For the apostles, you have the originals for that. So where it would say John, it says Yochanan, which is Hebrew for Yah is gracious. For James, it has Yaakov, or Jacob. And it's fun. I'm just looking at this page here. I just flipped it open to Luke 10, and David Stern even includes some of those little Hebrew phrases that are just useful in Jewish culture. He says, don't carry a money belt or a pack, giving instructions to the disciples. And don't stop to schmooze with people on the road. That's kind of fun. This Bible is it's not as word for word. It's more like it's written in what you call dynamic equivalence. So what he's trying to get is really so you can feel the original punch of what was being said. And I like that. It reads really, really easily, and I value that, which is why we read it. It's kind of fun. And something else I like about that is, where it says God's name, it says Adonai, and some of us prefer to use Adonai, which means the Lord. Some of us prefer to use God's original Hebrew name, Yahweh. So it's nice that we just have that reminder that there's something deeper behind his name there. Any comments or questions about that?
Have you ever read the scriptures?
Yes, I have a copy of that here too in my collection. We have a couple traditional Jewish versions that I wanted to show you guys. We'll do that next week because I know Hannah was curious about that. Yeah, here's a copy of the scriptures also. You guys read from that. I know Genevieve's family reads from that also. Yeah, there's some real pluses to the scriptures translation. I like how they render some of those things into the original Hebraic context. Like it says, just right out, the woman took hold of the tzitzit, the fringes on the corners of Yeshua's garment. That's how they render that in the book of Matthew, etc. I like too how they have Elohim wherever it says God. They use the original Hebrew pronunciation for that, which of course means the Almighty. And I like how I think it's cool how they actually have God's name spelled out in the Hebrew letters wherever it shows up, in the almost 7,000 times where it shows up. That's nice. There are a couple other quirks in this translation that I don't understand. Wherever it says disciples, they render it as taught ones. Yeah. It's not a term we generally use. I would think maybe they would use students or pupils or learners, but taught one's an interesting one. I guess so, hey. Yeah. Anyway, I'll share with you guys some of the other ones here next week. I don't want to bore you too much. But if you ever want to talk translations, come talk to me personally and we can talk for hours. I find things like that. Oh, I have another 5 or 6 for next week. Yep.